Welcome everyone to part 2 of my virtual conversation with NAACP of Atlanta President Richard Rose. If you missed the first part, you can find it on any of my social media accounts. That is Rep. Nikema Williams on Facebook, Rep. Nikema on Twitter and Instagram, and on the Atlanta NAACP social media accounts. President Rose, thank you so much for being here to share how the once-in-a-generation investment and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act will benefit Black communities throughout Georgia's 5th District. President Rose, I want to start the second part of our event talking about broadband. Y'all, I know how badly we need to upgrade our broadband infrastructure because every time we get a big rainstorm, my internet goes out, and I live in the city of Atlanta. So I always have to tell staff, look at the weather, find out what's going on. And that's with me having access right here in the city of Atlanta. But President Rose, I also have 2 little nieces, 7 years old and 12 years old, and they live in Alabama, in a not well-connected part of Alabama. All of my family's from Alabama, and they started virtual school. And we all know that virtual school can't happen without access to the internet, without access to broadband. And so my sister called everybody that she knew, trying to find out how can we just get the wires laid so that my nieces could get access to virtual school. And that still hasn't happened. But I am proud to say with the Infrastructure Act, we're not just making our broadband network stronger, we're making it more accessible so that my little nieces, Taylor and Trinity, can get access to the internet as they continue to have bouts with virtual learning. And I know that you've been focused a lot on broadband equity. Can you talk about how we're delivering on broadband equity?
So this will be a game-changing, I think, investment. Our program director at Atlanta NAACP, her father lives right outside Selma, Alabama. And he has to get sort of a satellite connection for internet, which is unreliable, is flaky at best. And so there's so much connectivity to the rest of the world, to the information that he does not have. And so when you look at the students in the same area, they are pretty much blacked out. This is so very important because we do have not just pockets of unconnected communities. We have swaths of unconnected communities, and this is just going to be a great thing for people, especially people without the economic wherewithal to even get satellite in these unconnected areas. So connectivity is the new thing. It's sort of like telephones from the 50s. You know, we have to have total connectivity for information purposes, for health reasons, for education, for so many other reasons. I think this is essential for the progress of America as we compete in an ever-changing global environment.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, especially when you touch on not just the school part and gaining information, but also the health piece, because we've seen during the pandemic, a lot of healthcare providers moving to telemedicine and telehealth visits. And so what does that mean for our communities when they don't even have access to broadband? So this is a game changer, and we have to make sure that we are applying this in an equitable sense. And so I'm committed to working with the NAACP to make sure that this happens, because it is so critical for so many of our communities. And also a big portion of the bipartisan infrastructure bill is on transit. 500,000 Atlantans rely on MARTA to get to work, school, the grocery store, and so much more. And you and I both know that MARTA has been historically and intentionally underfunded. But with the infrastructure bill, $1.5 million, billion with a B, $1.5 billion will come to Georgia for mass transit. And y'all, this is huge. MARTA is the country's 8th largest rapid transit system. So how do you see this investment helping to connect communities in Atlanta?
So as you mentioned, there are areas of Atlanta without access to rapid transit. I was at a MARTA board meeting a few years ago, and a 30-year retired employee of MARTA came before the board to tell them, I can ride free, but I don't have service in my area. You know, he said it would take me 3 hours to take a bus from after I walk a mile to even get to downtown Atlanta. And so we know that MARTA's been handicapped because when it was approved back in the 70s, it became an agency that's run not by citizens of the community that it serves. So that has been a handicap. And so, the government restricts what these resources, what MARTA's revenue can be used for. This will help us tremendously. There are areas in Atlanta we need rapid transit, rapid bus. We are so far behind as compared to, say, the Northeast or Chicago or other areas. If Atlanta is going to be if Georgia is going to be a great state with Atlanta as the hub of a great state, we must improve our transportation options, public transportation options. Absolutely must.
So I served on the MARTOC board when I was in the state Senate, and I was astounded that we only had Fulton and DeKalb counties paying into our MARTA system to fund MARTA, and the benefit that it is to the entire state. And so I was astounded how we did not have more of a funding input from the federal government and from the state government with Fulton and DeKalb, like just holding up the MARTA system. So I'm excited that we're going to get these investments so that we can truly have a world-class rapid transit system, and it can be transportation of choice, not of necessity, but we should be able to, whether I own a car or not, it should be easier for me to hop on a MARTA line and to get where I'm going, relieve some of the congestion in our communities, on our roads, and also looking at the environmental impacts, because we know that we are disproportionately impacted as people of color by the environmental injustices that are caused when our streets are continued to be clogged with cars and the fuels that we're taking in. So I'm excited about this investment and what it means for our communities.
Yes, I am too. And transportation is key, not only in some of these, the health, the education, shopping, work, but also transportation is key in voting. We've done a survey to find out that people are unable to efficiently get to their polling places if they do not have a car. And as you mentioned, it should be a choice, not necessarily a necessity, but right now, that is not the case. We are due for improvement. We look forward to it. I think it will enhance the quality of life throughout.
So another thing that people might not know about in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and I think most people will be surprised to learn that there are still lead pipes in buildings throughout this country. Buildings, homes, schools. In the state legislature, I introduced a bill to require that just the pipes in our schools be tested, the water be tested for the lead content, so that we weren't continuing to poison another generation of our youth. And I couldn't even get a hearing on it because some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle didn't think that it was necessary. But now I'm here to tell them that Georgia is set to receive $913 million over the next 5 years to remove lead pipes in our state. And we know that clean water is necessary, and now it's going to become a right for all communities. Can you talk a little bit more about why we've had to wait so long for this to happen?
Well, too often legislators are not driven by community interests, but by special interests. And so when you introduce a bill that really deals with community interests, they don't have many of them do not have an interest. They don't see that as really a priority for them. Their priorities are misplaced, in my opinion, but they are a place where they receive their funding. And the people who are most affected do not have the funding. They cannot contribute thousands of dollars for these issues to be taken as important. So in your, obviously, you are a servant of the people. And so that made the difference in your service at the state Senate and obviously in the House of Representatives of the United States.
So I'm excited about the transit investments, about removing these lead pipes from our communities. I'm excited about reconnecting neighborhoods and restoring communities. And this bipartisan infrastructure bill that is now the law of the land is the biggest investment that we have seen in our generation in infrastructure. And I'm excited to make sure that we are getting the resources out in an equitable manner, because equity is key in all of this so that we can lift up all of our communities. So thank you again to President Rose for joining me for this virtual conversation on the historic investments of the bipartisan infrastructure law and how it will benefit our Black communities. If you're just catching the second part of our conversation, be sure to check out part 1. You can find both parts on my social media accounts at Rep. Nikema Williams on Facebook and Rep. Nikema, y'all, that's Nikema on Twitter and Instagram. And the NAACP Atlanta branch will be sharing on their social media platforms as well. Thank you again, President Rose. If you have any closing comments that you want to share.
I'm just excited about these advances that could not have happened had we have been unable to turn out the vote on January the 5th, 2021. We have work still to do. I ask people to join us, pay attention to all of the matters that affect you in your daily lives. Politics is one of them. Your vote is your voice. Make sure you cast your vote.
Make sure you cast your vote, y'all. And if you're not a member of the NAACP, the Atlanta chapter is a great chapter to join. Thank y'all so much, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.